Hello, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me, yeah? Good, lovely. So I'm Lorraine Smyth. I'm the Chief Exec of Action Week Communities in Cumbria. And Fran's probably told you already, but we're a charity that's been around for 75 years. And our purpose is to help communities do what they want to do. It's almost that straightforward. Obviously, it gets more complicated than that. But we spend time with communities like you, talking about what the issues are in the community and how to help people move forward with those issues and make a difference so that they feel enabled to live the lives they want to live in their community. And that includes a whole range of different things. Varied success. Sometimes things work really well and sometimes they don't work so well. But often the pieces of work we start with are with angry and upset people who've been irritated, blighted by something in their community for some time, and they don't feel heard or supported. So they're starting from a place where they're not happy with what's going on. Sometimes it's projects that are new creations, play areas, new groups, new activities, and that's really positive, as well as hard work and a learning journey for all involved. So over the years, my organisation ACT, that Fran and Carol work for too, has come to a methodology of supporting people to be positive about what they want, not ignoring the anger and frustration, but channeling it into positive asks that are built on what the community is doing to make a difference itself. So I'm going to share some examples with you this evening. They won't all be things you want to do, but they're examples of positive engagement from the community, just like your participation in the Citizens Panel discussion group this evening. So where to start? There's loads and loads of examples, and you can look on our website to see some of these if that's interesting to you. There was a project we did in T-Bay. If you drive along the M6 up to Carlisle, there's a community called T-Bay just on the side of the M6 there. And they wanted more visitors, maybe the opposite of you, but they wanted more visitors and they wanted for them to behave in certain ways. So they designed a project about celebrating what their community could offer to visitors, with the usual interpretation boards, leaflets in B&Bs, an archaeological project about the area's past, and renovation of their community meeting space. It was a 3-year project and they received significant funding for it. It worked in that visitors stopped rather than just driving through. They spent money in the small cafes and B&Bs, and they appreciated the community welcome that the community developed through working together. 12 years later, that project is still functioning. They still use the resources they developed, the walks and the welcome signs, and a thriving community space that visitors visit as well as locals use it when there aren't visitors around. So that's a project who took a challenge that they had, not enough visitors, no community space, and made a real project of it and made a real difference to their community as a consequence of it. Another example I'll share with you, which is a bit odd, but stay with me. Dent, just up from Sedbergh, between Sedbergh and Hawes, main road going through. I can never get the numbers right, but it's A68 something or another. And they wanted to raise money for a community project. With the support of the local police, really important, they set up on the A road a highwayman. It was a long time ago and it was a man, but a woman helped as well. And on busy weekends, the highwayman quite literally stopped the cars going through and asked them to donate to the community that they were driving through to support community projects. Those that did donate were given a token for tea in the village hall. So they got a free cup of tea in the village hall and were then asked to pay for a cream tea in the village hall as well, if they wanted to, but they got a free cup of tea. So, and volunteers were offering those cream teas in the village halls. They did this to raise funds for their community projects, and they did it over several weekends, and they raised loads of money, and they felt really good about themselves because they had some fun. They had a couple of rude people, of course they did, but it was an A road, and the police supported them to set up a highwayman spot with signs and leaflets to actually try and extract money from the visitors. It worked for them. It wouldn't work everywhere, but it was quite interesting. It was a little while ago and people have maybe changed a bit, but you know, there was real good fun that they had while they were doing it. So that's another example. Another example I'll give you is around toilets. Lots of communities have challenges with toilets, and I know you guys do, and I've seen your local press and talked with you, people in your community, about this issue for many years. There are quite a lot of communities now who manage their own toilets. So Ambleside, Coniston, Silith all manage toilets in their community. Those are toilet blocks that have been transferred to local ownership through an asset transfer. So the local authority owned them, and then they transfer it lock, stock and barrel, the whole building, to the community, often a community group or the parish council, for them to run on behalf of the local community. All those three groups are doing that as a business enterprise, trying to cover the cost of running those toilets. Doesn't work entirely, but it gets them along the journey to some income towards those toilets. Another example of a toilet project is Longsleddle. So I don't know if people know Longsleddle, just outside Kendal on the way to Shap. It's a no-through valley, much like yourselves. They opened the toilets in their church village hall and received grant support to help with the cleaning costs. So they have, it's literally a one road valley. Loads of people go up it because you can get into the fells at the end. And because the village hall, which is part of the church, was there and had toilets, they've actually made them accessible to the public, so the public can use them for a donation. They can also use the church car park for a donation. And I'm not supposed to say this, but the Lake District National Park give them a grant each year to help with cleaning costs for the toilets. And that's been going on for about 20 years. So there are ways to sort out toileting. It's not easy, it's hard work, but these things come from the community owning these things and making them work locally. Another example from my personal life is the building of dry compost toilets by volunteers to provide facilities for hundreds of people who come together for activities over a weekend. The volunteers built the toilets, they manage them I'm involved with archery, and literally hundreds of people come together at a weekend in a wood, in a field, and you need toilet facilities. If you had to hire them every time, it would cost an absolute fortune. So groups of volunteers have come together and actually built composting toilets in order to allow there to be facilities for those locals. That's entirely voluntary. They've had no grant aid for it, but a lot of archers are really good with wood, really practical. So it really worked to get them together, to work together to make that project work. Some other examples about wider community benefit: community oil buying schemes, banking and post offices services hosted in village halls, coffee mornings, warm spots and community exchanges, bringing people in communities together to socialise. Much of this activity has come from a positive approach to planning for the community's future. We've supported over 100 communities to plan for their future, and this is called community-led planning. The community identifies the issues that are important to them by talking with local residents and businesses, then designs ways to ask everybody in the community about what they think about those issues, what they'll do to help make it happen. And then they draw up an action plan to carry out some of those activities to meet the needs and ideas people care about. And you did have a community-led plan in 2005, I think it was. So it's something that has happened in your community before. Could happen again, we could support you with that. The planning and the action plan that comes about from this consultation and discussion with the community is all about what you can do for yourselves. Literally, what can you do for yourselves without having to engage with anybody else? What you can do with others. What do you need to work in partnership with other organisations in order to make happen? And what do you need to advocate in order to change policy? So you need to talk to policymakers about in order to change things so that you can see something that you want to have happen. That's the kind of community planning process that I think is a really positive thing. And community planning is what led to a lot of those projects I talked to you about before. So I think I've probably had my 15 minutes, haven't I?